Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over all the Gems of War event objectives for the Bejeweled event, in which the Jeweled Golem is added to the game. So, this week we have Tower of Doom. There are a couple interesting things that have changed with Tower of Doom as of version 7.0. One that is pretty noteworthy is Tower of Doom back in the day used to be a once every 4-week event, and then for the longest time, about 2 years or so, 2.5, however long it was since campaign started, it became a once every 11-a-week event, and of course a lot of the rewards and everything else from it was scaled based on the 4-week period. And now it seems like as of 7.0, it is back on more of a 4-week based event system, where about approximately once every month we should be getting ourselves a Tower of Doom event. However, that's not the biggest thing that changed with Tower of Doom. The biggest thing is actually the way that scoring works now. So you still go about the Tower of Doom the same way you normally would. However, you might see a new little thing right here. Earn 2 times score when using the Doom weapon. So the Doom weapon can be obtained by 2 different means. The most common way is to spend 500 gems on it. However, if you do not have the 500 gems, you can alternatively get it in Soulforge, though it is generally advised to go down the gem method, as this requires a lot of diamonds and a very high amount of a specific color, and it's better to use this on Doom weapons that you still need to go get, any of the past ones, rather than using it on a newer one. Normally the newer ones are better just to throw the 500 gems at, so there is that. It is not required to have the ring to play the event, though it is generally advised, as the way that this works now is whenever you fight the Doom, as it says right here, earn 2 times score, you will now get, well, 2 times the points. So you still want to check in with your guild, get every single room scouted, all that kind of stuff. However, now whenever you go fight the Doom itself, you want to make sure you have the whatever the weapon is for the week. This week is Doomed Band. It does not need to be upgraded. In this particular situation, I do not have it upgraded at all. Having it upgraded would definitely make it stronger. However, it is not required. This is a completely level 0 Doomed Band, as in we just spent 500 gems and then spent no additional resources to max it out. And as you'll see at the end of this battle, we do still get the 2 times points. Instead of getting 1 Doom kill, we get 2. Every other reward still seems to be the same, but the actual dooms that you end up getting as a result of battle is doubled. So it'll make it so you end up getting ultimately more points, and definitely highly advised. This does make it a little bit clunky as you are forced to have to use the ring. However, there are teams, of course, that can end up utilizing it some, or you can even put it in a position where you just don't really need to use it. And as you can see right there, we got our 2 doomed kills. Normally, whenever you do this battle, you will end up getting 1 Forge Scroll, which, that one's the same. And all the standard loot here. However, you would normally only get 1 Doom kill. However, because we use the ring on our team, we now get 2 Doom kills. So do make sure you're using those rings every single time you fight one of those Dooms. And just scout out all the better rooms to your guild, and you'll be good to go. I am not sure how this works with the heroism yet, as my guild has not found a heroism. However, I assume either one of 2 things. It'll either go over your previous team, and you'll get double that way, or it might just give you only 1 battle. That's not too big a deal because heroism is just so much time save that even if you only get 1 Doom instead of 2, it's not that huge a deal. However, I'm not sure what the interaction is, if it'll always just give you 1, or if it gives you 2 based on if your previous team was a Doom team or not. Not currently 100% sure on that, but regardless, you would still want to use your heroisms, simply because, they save a lot of time. They just auto-finish the entire floor. So they're still going to be worthwhile to use. But technically, they will slightly reduce how many Dooms you get, though, as of now, I am pretty sure, as I'm almost guarantee will not double it when used. So do be mindful of that if you're trying to min-max on points that you might not even want to run heroisms anymore. And that means you also might not even want to take it. Though I would still advise taking it. It's just such a time save that even after that aspect, it is still 100% worth using, even if you're losing out on 1 single Doom. With that being said, of course, this was one of the modes that was affected by the new shiny key system. Because of the double point thing, one nice benefit that we have are these additional loots. Not only will you be able to earn 7 shiny keys, 1 at a normal section, but also a few at the deeper section, 4 all the way at the end, 2 right over there for 7 total. But you will also get 5 shiny tokens to be able to get the first shiny level of whatever the new troop is for the week. In this case, it is the new Golem, which we haven't gone over yet, but it's actually pretty good. So he'll be able to have 1 lower mana cost, which I believe lowers him from 13 to 12, if not mistaken. We'll be going over him in a moment. And of course, you get the Pet Orb, the Major Orb. So honestly, some pretty good loot for almost doing no additional effort. However, this might make you spend a little bit more on the event than you already have. Most people would, at least later in the game, generally go for tier 4 and not any deeper because you get the weapon from it anyways. However, if you are someone who is spending nothing or a small amount, this would slightly reduce how many points you could get. Not in the sense that you're getting less, but that other people who obviously have the weapon could end up getting more. And of course, if you do want to end up upgrading this weapon, one thing that's pretty good for, if you have the spear orbs, is to use the new upgrade orb. So if we go to weapon upgrades here, there are, of course, 2 different ways. Well, there are 3 different ways to basically upgrade this weapon. You can use those brown forge scrolls that you end up getting from this event, and you can upgrade it to, like, one of the middle tiers, like tier 6, tier 7, and then for the last few, use a standard orb of forging in order to save a few dozen of the forging orbs, or alternatively, of course, with a major orb of forging, just 1 click max, and there you go. If you have any of those, you could just instantly get the thing maxed, and it helps you be able to get a little bit more. In this case, it gives us 10 additional magic to all allies, which can be useful. In the particular team that we're using it in, for the most part, we're more so using the armor, so it's more so going to be used for its other aspect, not for its tempering level. But, you know, we get a little bit extra magic in there for 12 total to all allies, so it adds up over time. But it's definitely not required. You do still get the double even if you don't have it maxed at all, so you don't need to worry about maxing it. But if you have the loot to do so, it might be worthwhile to just speed up the event a little bit more. As I do plan to use the ring for every single fight, even though I'm pretty sure you only have to use it for the dooms themselves, but I still plan to use it for every fight, as it'll be really annoying constantly copy-pasting between 2 teams, so I'm just using the same team the whole time when I end up going for it. Now, we do have 10 teams to go over once we reach that point in the video, but first, let's start all the way from the top and go over the Bejeweled Golem. So, this guy is a great way to stock up on brown purple arcanes if you need, only 200 glory each, great time to get a bunch of them, and you definitely want to use it to upgrade this guy as he gets a little bit of score reduction. So, this is an interesting trend in that it seems like they're making a lot of these new shiny troops good, which is nice because some of these are glory troops like this one, so we can actually finally get good glory troops for once. So this thing, explode your gem. So basically, standard golem, as you would expect from something with golem in its name. So most golems in the game, almost all of them, have this exact mechanic where they explode a gem. However, he has a very interesting effect. That's very similar to, oh gosh, what's that other guy's name? Centurion has a very similar effect to this, except it does it to skulls. This is a new wildcard creator, and actually a pretty good one at that. It ends up creating 1 3x wildcard, which, you know, that's bad. However, the boost ratio is what's good, and it will create 2 more for each brown gem destroyed. So if you destroy 4 brown gems, that is now 8 additional for 9 total 3x wildcards. 9 wildcards like that have a pretty good chance of extra turning. Not to mention you're doing it on a board that is 3x3 smaller. So not only are there 9 less tiles for math, for 55 total, so not only do they only have to take up a 55 area, but you're also creating a ton of them. You can end up creating as many as 5 if you have like an X shape or similar thing where 5 browns can be together. Generally it's going to be like 3 or 4, but it is possible to get 5. And with doing a 5, that would be 11 3x wild cards. That is a lot of mana. A very, very high amount of mana. It could almost be like taking a wish gem in a sense. That will almost fulfill everything with how many 3x synergies you'll have together, how many different colors will combine together. It has a lot of potential. And as he becomes shiny, you know, he'll have a lower mana cost. I'm not sure what his special effect when he gets to his second level is. However, at his first shiny level, that will drag him down, which you'll guarantee get this week if you finish out the Tower of Doom as a guild. He'll go down from a 13 mana cost to a 12 mana cost. So that's pretty nice. And of course, if he's eventually ever fully maxed at some point way into the future, he'll be 11 mana cost and have some kind of extra effect. I assume it'd be maybe like 1 extra wild card or something, or maybe a bigger explode radius, probably more wild card, because bigger explode radius would be so broken. If it did like a 5x5 without the corners or something, that would be so ridiculously broken. But I'm pretty sure it's just going to be like 1 extra wild card or something. Or maybe a 1 times bigger root boost ratio. Or something along those lines. I have no clue. I don't believe there's any way to check within the game itself. Unless Terraform or something similar has them all data mined, which they might. I haven't actually bothered checking. But if we go to the troop itself, the, what was it called? Shiny Golem, whatever it's called? Or not Shiny Golem. He will be shiny soon. But if we go to the Jeweled Golem, we can't actually see it in-game. Like if we click over to, how do you get here again? There's a way to get here. How do I get to shiny page? I already forget. It's such a new mechanic, I forgot to get to the shiny page. I could have sworn you just click here and it brings you there. I'm clicking all the things. But it doesn't actually tell you when you get to the shiny page. Really? Does this not let me get to the thing? I completely forgot how to do this. Anyways. Wait, now that's gonna bother me. How do you get there? Do you already have to have it maxed? Wait. Do you already have to have it upgraded to get to the shiny page? There we go. Okay, why did it work now? I guess because it already has some upgrade. But yeah, you can't actually see what the upgrade is. It just says upgraded spell. But you don't actually get to see in-game, like, okay, what does upgraded spell do? Like, it will once you upgrade it, but, you know, Currently, until you do have it upgraded, you don't actually know. I hope they change that into the future, as it'd be really nice just to be able to look in-game, go on that page, and be like, oh, this is what it's going to get when it gets upgraded. Currently, you cannot do that in-game. Anyways, so that's him. Definitely make sure to utilize him some. Pretty good. Great budget option for a lot of events this week. It also counts as construct, so it has some good Chalcedony synergy for Brown synergy whenever you're forced to have to use Brown this week, which of course, Tower of Doom. Anyways, aside from that, campaign's still going on. New Mythic's still available until this Friday. Friday reset, so basically end of Thursday. And we still have the Legends Reborn event clearing up, so make sure to get progress on that. Quite a few really good upgrades to be able to get here. You get the Bork from doing these little battle thingies. You end up getting a maxed free useless one. You can end up spending gems in order to go get yourself a Tesla to have 5 to all stats, which is mostly useful for its armor. And if you want to spend some money, those will be available in the future about 6 weeks from now for free. But you can also get some Tina 9000 buff to end up making that mythic a little bit stronger. So some pretty good pet options. 3 out of 4 of them pretty solid. So that's still going on for the rest of the week, so definitely make sure to conclude all those before the end. Aside from that, as far as the event key drop table is concerned, it is a Broken Spire event week. And for the most part, I would say Broken Spire is pretty underwhelming, even after its rework. It's generally almost deliberately underwhelming because it's the first kingdom that you ever go to. So they tried to make it a little bit weaker than some other kingdoms, as, you know, it's the first kingdom you ever have to battle in, so you don't have too many options around the time. They have given it some better options over time, over the years. However, overall, the overall power of Broken Spire, pretty underwhelming. There are some definitely really good choice troops here and there, like Ogress and the such. But as far as the higher rarity stuff that you would end up getting from event keys, nothing is particularly noteworthy. Infernus is basically just outclassed by Zolgoth these days. Amarak is outclassed by Iron Gut or any other thing that has the ability to devour. God and Good should, in theory, be good with gold, but it just doesn't work good enough, even after the buff. So for the most part, just not really much here. Like, utility troops you use on occasion, but nothing that you would really want to have, just things that you would eventually want to get. So for the most part, pretty skippable week on event keys unless you're deliberately trying to upgrade Broken Spire. As far as what's in event key drop table, everything that you see here is, except for 5 things, the Ace of Wands, which is only in the Vault key drop table, and of course the 4 faction troops. Everything else that you see here is in the event key drop table if you want to try for it. But for the most part, pretty skippable week unless you're getting that Broken Spire upgraded, which I believe can reach, yeah, it's stuck at 26 because of the upgrading thing. But like many kingdoms, due to the lack of deeds currently within the game, it is stuck at 26 star. So I believe it could go to like 27 or 28 or something. But of course, like almost every kingdom, they're pretty much all stuck at 26 until we have a better way of getting deeds, as there is not enough deeds to go around to upgrade all of them to higher levels. Anyways, aside from that, as far as guild-related events, only thing we have going on is Tower of Doom. We kind of already briefly went over this earlier, but just to reiterate, make sure you use this weapon. This is a new feature as of 7.0. You definitely 100% want to use this weapon if you have the resources to get it. You can get it either through the Soul Forge, or more advised to spend 500 gems to end up getting it here if you haven't already been already. This is something that most people already do. However, if you haven't been, you might want to start considering it. Not only does it save you a ton of resources in being able to get this Doom weapon in the future, but it also ends up doubling your points for this event, making it easier as a guild to end up getting everything completed. For all the shiny keys, the shiny tokens, the orb, the major orb, all the extra loot that you end up getting there. And along the way, you also get a bunch of Forge Scrolls, which you can use to upgrade weapons, the Doom weapons, particularly brown ones this week, as it is a brown event. Anyways, as far as other things that we have going on throughout the week, this Tuesday, we have ourselves a faction event for the Lava Spire, or whatever it's called, that one lava place in the middle of Underspire. This place, pretty easy overall. We have access to brown-red. The final battle is basically just spam Lava Dragon, so nothing too bad at all. This Wednesday, we can't currently see it here because we have a different pet active right now that I believe we already have max. Yes, we do. But this thing, this Wednesday, will end up being the International Cat Day pet, so that'll be your cosmetic pet for the year, so definitely make sure to go and get that little thing. It doesn't actually do anything, but, you know, just another thing for the collection. This Thursday, we're going to be having a class event for the Warlord hero class. Warlord, pretty underwhelming. It's the first hero class you generally get access to within the game. Doesn't really do anything in particular. It's basically just outclassed Titan class. It does have triple damage burning and a little bit extra attacking, but it's outclassed by other similar things like Slayer that also get enrage and everything else. It just, overall, just not really that worth using. You might use it like super early on once you're on a hero class, but you definitely switch it out pretty early, as there's just better ones out there. And as Fridays, we can actually see with the time of here, we do have a Bounty Hunter event going on. That's also when you won't be able to get the Mythic anymore, or at least not exclusively in the drop table, as that will finally switch over, even though it doesn't show the timer anywhere in game still, which I'm still surprised hasn't been changed, even as of 7.0. Anyways, Bounty Hunter, nothing really new with this. It's just the same thing it's always been, so you can just go for it for free, spend however much you want. But to my understanding, this mode has not actually been changed at all as of 7.0, so Same bounty hunter as per usual. You basically just use Ogre Shigaraki or whatever else you want to use, and just build a quick kill team out of that. Anyways, as far as the Soul Forge is concerned, most things are pretty skippable, though is worth reiterating if you haven't already gotten it. Of course, he's permanently in Soul Forge. However, if you haven't picked up yourself a Catharix, definitely a really great option. I do plan on hopefully finally covering a video on him. I'm a little bit backlogged still on videos I want to cover. However, one of those is still on Catharix. He's a pretty good bad mythic. I'm not sure even still to this day, after a couple weeks of using him, how to describe him. But he's definitely one of the more high-risk, high-reward mythics out there, where he has everything from auto-win infinite loop to give the enemy everything, and fairy fire your own team and curse your own team. It's a very volatile troop, to say the least, but it's a really good volatile troop. As far as weapons are concerned, I deliberately made sure not to get this as just to mention it here, but in, I believe, version 6.9 of Gems of War, they added 3 new weapons. You get to choose one of them when you're a new player now, when you first start out on the game. It's the Axe of Fire, a green one, and I believe a blue one. I forget what the other 2 do. We already have one of them. But this is the second of the 3 that we've been able to get at this point. And technically, if you're a newer player and you grab the other 2, you might have all 3 and be one of the only few that do. But yeah, this is one of those 3 that they added. It's one of the weapons that you basically get at the start of the game with how the tutorial system works now. And obviously, if you're a veteran player who's already made an account since then, or even if you're a newer player, you only got to choose one of the 3, they rotate in Soul Forge. So whenever the kingdom comes around, you'll be able to get it. In this case, obviously the Broken Spire came around, so we were able to get the Broken Spire weapon. The only other weapon maybe worth considering, Flamer and Doomed Club. Flamer used in some teams, but you can just use our Scale Crown instead as an alternative. And Doomed Club, just a nice AoE damage option. Also converts some greens to Doom Skull. Really good with Truffle Loop and some similar other teams. So those are the main ones that you'd want to pick up. And in the case of the other thing, if we go to weapons over here, the only one we still need to rotate is the blue one, the Sword of Ice, which will come in whenever the next Glacial Peaks is. And once that does, that will officially be all 3 of them in the game. And if you're still missing any of them by then, they'll keep rotating. So you just have to wait for the next Broken Spire event if you don't get this Broken Spire one. And I believe the other one was Forest of Thorns, if I'm not mistaken. So Glacial Peaks, Broken Spire, and I believe the other one was Forest of Thorns. Actually, if I type in Sword of, we should be able to get it to pop up here. No, it's not called Sword of something. Never mind. Well, actually, there's another way to, I guess, bring it up. Go to that, all colors. Somewhere here should be the weapon I'm looking for. If I can quickly find its troop art. There it is. Yeah, Forest of Thorns. That's what I thought. So it's Forest of Thorns, Glacial Peaks, and Broken Spire. With Broken Spire, of course, being right now. And Glacial Peaks and Forest of Thorns, I have no clue when their next event is, but whenever they rotate around is when you can get those weapons. Later in the game, they're not really particularly useful, but if you're still earlier on in the game, they're honestly not bad weapons. Like the green one has Entangle, the blue one has Freeze, stuff like that. Anyways, in other news, what else to go over? I guess all the teams. I believe that is everything but the teams at this point. So, as far as teams, we have 10 of them to go over, all of which will be in the description below if you want to go and copy-paste any of them. So, right off the bat, you probably already saw this when we ran the Doom battle, but we're running a Bork-based Guards Avatar team. I'm running Bork because, of course, he does have the additional magic. By the end of this week, he will have +5 additional magic. I believe mine right now is like +2 or +3 or something. But you get that from the storyline thingy, from redoing the storyline. So I believe by this Saturday, I think we would fully have it max. Friday, Saturday, 1 to 2. We'll be able to do the final one and have ourselves a max Bork for +5 all stats. But the most noteworthy one, of course, being magic. Though he does use his durability some due to his score reduction. But he's mostly using it for his magic to have 5 additional destroy. He's particularly good in areas that aren't Underworld, because in not Underworld, you don't tend to have 64 destroy. Whereas in Underworld, you have way more than 64. And of course, 64 is how many you need to be able to clear the whole board. So having 5 additional, which puts him a few over like Thrall and stuff like that, can be useful from time to time, especially if you can fit a way to put Mechanist hero class into your team, as that gives you 50% mana start, bringing it to only a 6 mana cost, meaning if you Surge or if you have +3 link into its color, you'll be able to immediately get full mana. And yeah, it's just basically damage of Guard's Avatar to kill everything. And we actually do get to use this ring for Guard's Avatar. One of the main perks of this ring is, aside from giving a lot of magic, is that it gives a bunch of armor to all brown allies, and you don't even need the tempering levels to get this full magic bonus. I mean, sorry, to get the full armor bonus. For the magic bonus you do, but for the armor bonus, you can be tempering level 0, and you will still get the max amount of armor for your allies, which is nice. You just don't get the other little perks that it has. Yeah, this gives a bunch of armor to allies. Obviously, Guard's Avatar utilizes this for a lot of damage, and that's pretty much the whole premise of synergy there. And you also get a little bit of attack while there's a Doom on the enemy team, but that's pretty irrelevant, that small amount. For the Tower of Doom lower range, we're basically using the new Golem with Chalcedony. So Chalcedony, basically an infinite loop when you're using a construct team. There's a couple of these within the game. Its damage is relatively slow, but if you're looking for something really safe, just spam a billion Chalcedonies on your team and you'll be perfectly fine. So it just creates a billion brown based on how many constructs are on your team. So obviously you want everything on your team to be construct. You need to use Geomancer so you have not only 50% mana star for constructs, but it also counts as a construct. This also allows you to set your Doom Ring, which of course you don't have to upgrade. You can simply just put it there or just never cast it. You could even opt, if you really want to put it all the way in the back if you don't want to block your Jeweled Golem. It is safer to put it in first slot. However, it is quicker to put it all the way in last slot. So you can kind of make that determination based on where you are. But for the later fights, you might want to have your hero up here so you can barrier on Brown, keep yourself tanked. But this guy early on should be able to tank even in early game just because it's 50% reduction. So if you do want to speed it up, just put your ring back. Otherwise, keep it up front to tank. But basically, once you have all your mana, you're going to have way more than enough mana anyway. So it's not too bad that's blocking there. It just makes it slightly slower. That's why we have the banner to double yellow, so Chalcedony can get rolling. And once she does, you have all the mana you're ever going to need. Jeweled Golem's mostly just here for some backup mana. You don't really ever have to even cast them, maybe just when you're starting up or something, which is why you can also use them as a tank. You can also use that other brown-purple one that does barrier if you feel like you're dying too much later on, like if your Chalcedony has really low stats or something similar. There's a brown-purple golem. I forget his name. I actually had him here initially, but I was like, I should just go with Jeweled Golem. But there is that brown-purple other construct guy. Let's see if I can find him real quick. Let's see, brown, purple, construct, let's see, all colors. This guy right here, Deep Golem. Deep Golem's like the replacement. He basically is the same thing, but instead of doing mana, he does barrier. So if you find you're dying too much on Chalcedony or something, you can do that to keep it protected. But this is quicker, so if you can survive, it's definitely better to use the Jeweled Golem. But the other Golem can be used if you want additional safety to not die, especially if you're lower stats or just starting out in the game. Anyways, what else? Let's keep going over the rest of the teams. We still have a billion more to go through. So, next we have ourselves the Underspire. Oh yeah, I didn't really mention it, but yes, of course, as per usual, we do have Underspire. And as per usual, it is associated to whatever the Kingdom Week is. And this week, it is that of Broken Spire. So you can use anything from Broken Spire, absolutely anything. This also does mean that your weapons are restricted to Broken Spire, with some of the better ones being Flamer, Doomed, where'd it go? Doomed Club. And I would say those are the main two for the most part. There's a few other utility ones here and there, but those are like the main two that you would really need to use, as there's a lot of reds in this kingdom that you would be able to get value from. And Doomed Club, just a great amount of damage to be able to apply. And of course, both of them are available in Soulforge this week if you don't have them. And yeah, so as far as Underspire, basically just doing a Doomed Club up front, using the Sulfur Slime. Of course, we do have access to that new construct guy. However, I actually chose Sulfur Slime as my main mana accumulator for both teams. Though you can opt for the Golem if you want to try something new. But Sulfur Slime to a degree is kind of new to the sense. It's relatively new, and I personally feel like I haven't used it much. And there's so many reds in Broken Spire now that, honestly, I feel like it has a little bit better synergy. It ends up creating a bunch of yellow gems and then converts all yellows to red. And not only feeds back into itself, but also, of course, feeds into every red ally you have. So basically, you just do that, get all their mana up, and then just spam a bunch of AoE until you win. That's essentially the whole premise here. And we're using Doomed Club to hold the line while also having some damage, while we're using the main premise of Sulfur Slime to feed a bunch of damage sources. And the other team that we have here will end up utilizing a very similar aspect. If we go back to the teams over there, though, I'm kind of jumping around here. Oh, no, never mind. So right over here, we have the Ogress as our tank. This has a resummon of the 100% for the Fortress Gate, so you have double tank. Has some score reduction, has some decent mana accumulation, so you have that. Once again, I'm using Doomed Club. If you don't have this as at the low rarity end, as obviously Doomed Club is not particularly a low rarity weapon, you can replace this out for any damage weapon you have. I just happen to put this here as it is the best thing to use here, if you happen to have it. But if you don't, you can just place any damage source weapon you have that ideally doesn't block that much. Next, we have Traxxas. Traxxas is going to be your main damage source in this context. It also feeds a bunch of brown back to your mana accumulators and or damage source that you have there. And once again, we're using Sulfur Slime. Alternatively, as I mentioned before, if you don't want to go down the Sulfur Slime route, you do have access to the Golem, and you can kind of reorganize that, maybe put it like right in front of your Traxxas and kind of have it like that. But I personally am going down the Sulfur Slime route for both of them, as I kind of want to try that one out more. As the other guy, we kind of already know what he's going to do with like Centurion and stuff like that in the past. And I actually want to mess with Sulfur Slime a little bit more, as that mechanic we haven't really gotten to utilize as much compared to like wild card spam. Anyways, next, let's keep going. We have plenty more teams here. Next, we have ourselves the level, or the, gosh, too many events. This is the Fire Rift. Hey, I remember the name this time. This is the Fire Rift faction for Tuesday, so tomorrow. As far as all the teams for that, it is a brown-red restriction, though you're still allowed to use any weapon. So for this, you're basically using a standard guards avatar quick kill team. It's just one of the best options you have access to. You can, of course, downgrade to like gargoyles or something similar, like double gargoyle there and with the Harpy Mage instead of guards avatar Cirque and Hadley, whatever damages you happen to have. But if you do happen to have this, it's one of the main things guards avatar gets used for. It's pretty much the whole reason for having him. Just really good at killing out that specific range when you don't have access to better options. You just click them, they all die. It works out wonderful. Next, we have ourselves the higher range, and pretty much just build a pretty standard Hiking Aranga Zolgoth build. I'm using Angry Mob instead of Bork, mainly because it gets full blocked by Hiking Aranga. And also, in Underworld, you actually don't need the extra magic that Bork gets from having the +5 to all. The main reason for this, plus it's on Tuesday, so you won't even have the +5 to all yet. You'll have like +3 or +4, whatever it is. But you don't really need the extra magic on Bork in Underworld, as you're generally, at least later in the game, going to have so much magic that you're always destroying 64 anyways, even without the additional magic. So you don't really need it. So Angry Mob is already max manning anyways, and it has backup summon in case you need it. In case Hiking Aranga somehow dies, you'll still have double Angry Mob into Zolgoth, which is still enough to win. A little bit slower, obviously, but still enough to win. Next, we have ourselves a nice diverse team of 4 Magma Dragons. There really isn't any need to run anything else for the Pure faction. There's barely anything else to even run for the Pure faction. It's basically to spam Magma Dragon until you win. As long as you have 3 of them going to the final fight, you should be fine. Ideally all 4, but if one of them dies, it's not too big a deal. And you just spam his ability until you win. It's just AoE chip until you win. It's pretty standard strategy for a lot of Underworld teams, where you're basically forced to just have to chip them down until you just damage them before they damage you. Next, we have the Warlord class. This restricts us to Giants from Broken Spire. One of them that you can end up using is Gob Chopper. One nice thing is it has Empower. So basically, you just go get up your Dawnbringer or any weapon of choice. It can be anything you want, Black Manacle, whatever you have. But whatever weapon of choice, just get that up quickly. And then whatever's still alive, you just throw a bunch of Gob Chompers on. For the very early fights, you could technically even go 4 Gob Chompers if you really wanted to. But ideally, you'd have the weapon and just clean up whatever still survives with the Gob Chompers. Next, we have ourselves the Trial Team. So Trial Team is honestly not too bad. It also uses Sulfur Slime, which is kind of nice. Great mana accumulator. One nice thing too is your whole team is reds. And one other nice thing is your banner is actually not horrible. Ideally, you would want some plus reds, but you do get one off of Traxxas if nothing else. But this one blue is actually really relevant because Sulfur Slime is an 11 mana cost troop. And 11 mana cost is a mana cost that you normally want to put a +1 into. And you actually have both his +1s, both for blue and red, though in this case the blue one is way more relevant, as he's kind of blocked a little bit, though you of course could move him in a way, but you don't want him to really die, you want him to survive for a little while, which is why he's normally placed a little bit further back in the team compared to like if you had the Golem or something where you put it a little bit further up in your team, because this has no score reduction, so you don't want it dying. But yeah, it has the same ability, converts all the yellow to red, or creates some yellow, converts them all yellow to red. And you end up getting a lot of mana from that. It obviously feeds into your entire team, as all 4 of them in this particular situation do use red, so you get a lot of mana accumulation. And your main damage source is still Traxxas, just AoE chip until you win. Though you do have access to some skull spam off of Shegra. The problem with Shegra is you'll use this less and less as you go deeper into battles, as they will have better skull value than you. But you can still do this if you really need to secure a kill or just feel like casting it. But for the most part, I feel like it'll be better to leave it so it doesn't block you on red, rather than casting it. You can even technically put it all the way in last slot if you really want to, and kind of use it as like a last resort troop and just kind of keep it back there. You definitely want to lead with Volcanic Golem though, in order to have its score reduction, as you want to make sure your core of your team, which is Sulfur Slime, its Traxxas, stays alive for as long as possible, which is one of the main reasons for having Shegra a little bit higher. But alternatively, you can also place it like this: Volcanic Golem, Sulfur Slime, Traxxas, and Shegra, with Shegra being absolute last resort. But keeping it this way keeps your Sulfur Slime a little bit longer alive. You also get to utilize the 2x damage, and you can at any point burst down any one of their enemies, though it might end up killing you in return, as they might end up getting a Skull Poke or two, which will do a lot of damage at the higher range. Anyways, lastly, we have Bounty Hunter event this Friday, as we saw earlier. Strategy for it has not really changed at all. You just use Ogre, Stagraki, Corpse Mirror, whatever the new troop is, and you're good to go. Make sure to max it out, get your 30x multiplier, and get all of your loot. Or simply just do the free battles, and you'll still get a ton of loot. That's pretty much the game plan. Nothing has really changed with that as of 7.0. Same thing it's always been. Unfortunately, no shiny keys or anything there. Unless they're still doing it. I'm pretty sure there is no change to Bounty Hunter, though. I believe it's still the same loot it's always been. But it would be nice if they added some shiny keys there and such, as there hasn't been too many ways of getting them. I do still plan on covering a video on shiny keys. Haven't gotten around to it yet, but they are still a mechanic. And they are still allocated based on what you have every single week. So, of course, this week, you'll be able to go get the new troop, the Shiny Golem guy, or the Jeweled Golem, I should say. So every single week, you can end up getting more. I'm personally hoarding them, mostly due to how the dust system works, but I'll be going over that a little bit more in a future video. But for the most part, I am personally going to be hoarding all my keys. I was considering using some, and it just seems like overall better value just to wait on them. But you can do whatever you want, especially if there's like a really good trip on a given week. You might want to like dump them all. But I am personally hoarding them as it currently stands. Anyways, so that's everything. If you guys still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Tonight we'll be going over and probably doing most of Tower of Doom, at least a good chunk of it. So we'll be doing that tonight if you want to see Tower of Doom in action. And aside from that, yeah, just clearing out everything else throughout the week. Other than Tower of Doom, it's a pretty standard week. Other than, I guess, getting a pet event on the Wednesday or, a new pet. But otherwise, a pretty standard event week for Gems of War. Anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful week. I will catch you guys later, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.